Take a look at this photo. It shows Rexford Lynn Keel Jr., better known as Lynn Keel, and his wife Elizabeth Bess Edwards Keel. They were happily married for over 20 years. In 2005, Lynn worked as a truck driver, and Elizabeth worked at Microbac Laboratories. Many of us have pictures that capture moments before big changes in our lives, and this photo is one of those. Lynn and Elizabeth lived in a quiet, secluded house in Nash County, North Carolina, as you can see on the map. As 2005 was ending, Lynn and Elizabeth, like many others, were making plans for the new year. But on January 1st, 2006, disaster struck. It was a cold day, and the steps outside their house were covered in ice. As Elizabeth was leaving the house, she slipped and fell, hitting her head on the corner of the concrete steps. The injury was fatal. The medical examiner who did the autopsy said Elizabeth died from blunt force trauma to the head and ruled her death an accident. Her sudden passing at just 42 years old was a huge shock to her husband, family, friends, and colleagues. About 1 year passed, and Lynn Keel decided to move on. He was no longer a truck driver, but worked in real estate. In 2007, he visited Latin America on a work-related trip. On that trip, Lynn, who was 45 years old at the time, met Diana, who was 19 years his junior. Diana was from Bogota, Colombia. She was strikingly beautiful, kind, and a single mom with a daughter. The relationship between them quickly developed, and with her thoughts of the American dream, Diana moved to the United States. She and Lynn began living in his home in Nash County, where about a year earlier, his wife Elizabeth Keel had died in an accident. It wasn't long before Diana and Lynn were married, and a short time later, the couple had a son named Max. In 2017, Diana graduated from Nash Community College. That same year, she began working as an emergency room nurse at Wilson Medical Center. The first few years of their life together were nothing special, but over time, their relationship began to deteriorate. Diana told her close friend that Lynn was an overbearing man who spoke sharply to her and very often verbally abused her. The atmosphere in the house was almost always very tense. Lynn would not allow Diana to be alone with anyone for long periods of time. She began to think about divorce, but she was afraid of her husband because he threatened her. He manipulated her with the baby, telling her that if she left him, he would deport her, and that she would never see her son again. Diana put up with it all because her children came first for her. But everyone's patience comes to an end sooner or later. In 2019, Diana's daughter Laura was 18, a graduate of Southern Nash High School, and a freshman at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. 10-year-old Max was living with his parents. As mentioned, Diana worked as a nurse at Wilson Medical Center. She was loved and respected by patients and colleagues alike. On March 7, 2019, Diana's mother, Esperanza Prada, who lived in Colombia, received a message in which Diana wrote, "Mom, I love you very much." The message came completely out of the blue. Esperanza knew her daughter didn't have a happy marriage and that she wanted to divorce her husband, but was afraid of him. Only 3 days later, Diana's daughter Laura sounded the alarm. On March 10th, she tweeted out a plea for help to find her mother. The message said, "This is insane. You see this happen to everyone else, and you don't think it's ever going to happen to you guys. My mom is missing. If you see or hear anything, please let me know, and please retweet this. Help me get the word out. Thank you." That same day, Laura called the medical center where her mother worked, but none of Diana's co-workers had spoken to her in the past 2 days. An employee of the medical center called the police and asked for a welfare check on Diana. A co-worker told the dispatcher that Diana hadn't been heard from in 2 days. The woman said it was out of character for Diana, and she asked the sheriff's office to perform a welfare check. Diana was a devoted mother. Diana Keel was in touch with her family every day. She checked her social media regularly, but now her messages went unread and her FaceTime calls unanswered. When a police officer arrived at the Keel family home, Lynn was there. It was surprising that his wife's disappearance had been reported to the police by her co-workers, not him. Lynn told the police officer that he had last seen Diana 2 days earlier on March 8th, when she left the house. Her car was still parked outside the house, which also aroused suspicion, so Lynn was called in for questioning. When questioned, Keel, 57, said his wife had gone out to run some errands and hadn't returned. He said she would leave from time to time and wouldn't return for several days. It was a statement that didn't ring true. Without any charges, the man was released. Diana was reported missing, and the police began searching for her. Investigators were able to determine that the woman had not used her cell phone or bank cards in the past few days, and that was not a good sign. The house, as I said at the beginning of the video, is in a secluded location, and there are no neighbors to share any important information with the police. Nevertheless, detectives learned that on the morning of March 8th, the couple was seen having a heated argument on their front porch. A courier had delivered a package addressed to Diana that day, and he was the last person to see her, not counting Lynn Keel, of course. After the police interviewed Diana's co-workers, who told them that she was having problems with her husband, there was no doubt that she would not abandon her son and run away. The only thing that stopped her from divorcing was the fear of losing custody of her 10-year-old son. Everyone the detective spoke to named only one person they thought might have been involved in Diana's disappearance: her husband, Lynn Keel. Early in the investigation, an ominous discovery was made. 2 years before Diana went missing, Lynn had insured her life for more than $1 million, and he was the sole beneficiary of this insurance. In 2008, sheriff's deputies responded to a domestic dispute in the house, although no further action was taken. Only 2 days had passed since the investigation began, and the police received a disturbing call. During the emergency call, a man later identified as an employee of the North Carolina Department of Transportation said he found something on Pokeshole Road. "It looks like something is laying in the woods," he said. "I don't know what it is. A body, a something." "How far down is it?" the dispatcher asked. "Right here at the end," the caller said. "I will be waiting right here." Unfortunately, what the man who called the police saw was Diana's body, which from the looks of it had been there since the day she disappeared. It turned out that the worker was checking an illegal dump when he saw something suspicious. Pokeshole Road is a dead-end street leading to farmland, and the fact that the body was found was fortunate, if fortunate is the right word under the circumstances. Who knows how long it would have taken the police to find Diana's body, for it was 30 meters away from her home. "I've heard nobody that knew her had anything negative to say about this woman," Nash County Sheriff Keith Stone said. "What a tragic event. Even more tragic, we now have a 10-year-old without a mom." Stone added, "It's very difficult, especially when I see life as it is and how fragile it is. And now we have a kid without a mother. It's very difficult. We have a lot of unanswered questions. That's the reason we as the Nash County Sheriff's Office operate with compassion, honor, and diligence. Although it remains unclear how the woman died, there is definitely foul play involved." The police had only one suspect, Lynn Keel. When he was informed that his wife had been found dead, he was very surprised. He was brought to the station for questioning, where he answered investigators. He claimed, as before, that Diana had often gone away for several days, but that she had always returned. These words were inconsistent with what Diana's colleagues, relatives, and friends had said. Everyone knew that Lynn Keel controlled his wife's every move. He even forbade her to see her friends. After the interrogation, the man was released because the results of the autopsy had not yet been obtained. 2 days after the discovery of the body, authorities officially confirmed that the body was that of Diana Alejandra Keel. Her death was a painful blow to her children, family, and friends. Diana's daughter Laura created a GoFundMe page to help cover the funeral costs. "My priorities now are to make sure my mother is laid to rest in a manner much more fitting than her death, and to make sure my brother continues to feel the love that our mother shared with us daily," she wrote. "By doing so, I hope to honor my mother's legacy." Diana's cousin living in Colombia told reporters that the mother of two came to North Carolina to live the American dream, but it ended up being a nightmare. "I can't believe it," said Javier Guevara. "I can't believe it. It's very, very sad." After the medical examiner's report was obtained, The frightening details of Diana's death became known. She had extensive skull fractures as well as multiple sharp injuries on the left side of her face and neck. Some of the injuries were post-mortem, which could mean that the person who inflicted them had a personal grudge against Diana. By the time police arrived to arrest Lynn Keel and search his home, he had gone on the run. He was put on a nationwide wanted list, and a report stated that he might be driving a gold-colored pickup truck and warned that he might be dangerous. It was learned that after Lynn Keel left the police station after being questioned, he drove his 10-year-old son to his parents' home, took his father's car, and fled. According to a warrant to search the home Diana and Lynn Keel shared, authorities seized a variety of firearms, including rifles, pistols, and revolvers. Also seized were swords, a machete, and several knives. Warrants showed that authorities found 2 pages from a diary belonging to Diana Keel's 18-year-old daughter inside a Dodge Ram Lynn Keel owned. When the sheriff was asked about their contents, he replied that he did not feel comfortable divulging what was written on those pages. Meanwhile, the search for Lynn Keel continued. It was determined that he had left the state, but his whereabouts were unknown. Stone said the sheriff's office had received calls from Texas and Florida about Keel's truck, but no additional details about his capture were confirmed. He asked the public to drive by local motels and hotels and see if they would notice a pickup truck with the license plate number listed on the information sheet distributed. "We have no idea where he might be," he said. "This is an opportunity for the public to help because this person is dangerous." On March 17, 2019, 5 days after Diana's body was discovered, Lynn Keel was seized by Arizona State Police 34 miles from the U.S. border with Mexico. He was in possession of a large sum of cash and a large quantity of various canned goods. Allegedly planning to cross the border and escape into Mexican territory, Keel was arrested and airlifted to Nash County, where he was charged in connection with the death of his wife, Diana. Experts believed Diana was still alive when she was loaded into her own SUV, driven into the woods, and left for dead. As a result, Lynn Keel was also charged with kidnapping. When searching the house, forensic investigators found overwhelming evidence that the attack on Diana took place in the bedroom. According to the prosecutor, after taking Diana to a remote area, Keel went to a local Walmart, where he bought cleaning supplies to cover up evidence of the crime. After his arrest, Diana's daughter Laura wrote the following on her Facebook account. "I know everyone has a certain feeling towards what my stepdad did to my family. However, I beg all of you not to spread hate. My brother has such a pure heart that he doesn't need to see that hate. We all need to focus on how wonderful my mother was to heal us as best we can." The brutal nature of the crime and Keel's subsequent flight from justice drew local, state, and national media attention. This media attention caused the public defender at the time to ask for a change in venue so that a jury pool could be selected outside of Nash County. Despite the widespread nature of the media attention, the motion for a change in venue focused specifically on perceptions in Nash County. The media coverage included press conferences by the Nash County Sheriff, many written articles in local newspapers, online articles, television coverage, and social media discussion. The media speculated on the death of the defendant's previous wife. Although the state objected to the motion, it noted concerns over efficiency and a waste of resources should the trial begin in Nash County and then need to be transferred elsewhere. Ultimately, Nash County Superior Court Judge Quentin Sumner decided to move the venue to Pitt County. In the document outlining his decision, Sumner stated that there existed in Nash County a prejudice against the defendant that would prevent a fair and impartial trial. In October 2021, Rexford Lynn Keel, 59, pleaded no contest to the charges against him to avoid a lengthy trial. A no contest plea, similar to a guilty plea, means the defendant accepts responsibility for the charges. Keel pled to second-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping. Keel's defense attorneys asked the judge to consider his kidney failure and his 2 years of incarceration. At sentencing, Diana's mother reminded the court of the reason her daughter was no longer alive. She urged women with abusive partners to run and not stay in dangerous situations. She asked the judge for a severe sentence, stating, "I want you to have the same compassion for Keel that he had when he killed her." Diana's cousin released a statement, expressing gratitude to law enforcement for apprehending and bringing Lynn Keel to justice. The family thanked the Nash County Sheriff's Office and others for their support and love. Diana was remembered for her love for her children and her contagious laugh, bright smile, and huge heart for others, including animals. Lynn Keel did not state the motive for the crime. However, there were speculations that Diana was meeting with a lawyer to begin divorce proceedings, and that an insurance policy worth more than $1 million could have been a factor. Under the plea agreement, Lynn Keel was sentenced to between 32 and 41 years in prison. However, police also had questions about the death of Lynn Keel's first wife, Elizabeth. Her family had always questioned her death, wondering if it was really an accident. Authorities planned to re-examine the evidence and possibly exhume Elizabeth Keel's body. Dr. John Butts, the chief medical examiner in North Carolina for 24 years, stated that bodies are exhumed when there are questions that could be addressed by re-examining the remains. He noted that many accidental deaths have later been found to be murders due to new information. Although no new information related to Elizabeth Keel's death has surfaced over the past 2 years, it is possible that this case will receive further attention in the future.